7 years ago, the day everything changed. Where all the monsters unleashed by the mysterious calamity called Dungeon Break. Countless people lost their lives during the ensuing chaos. They lost everything in a blink of an eye, including the parent of Sunghyun Han, who was the main character of our story. Sunghyun Han promised to himself that through the tears of blood he would become a hunter and tear apart the monsters that plagued their world. 7 years after the event where the great calamity started, Sunghyun Han was kicked out by the gym he was been training for. He was so upset of what about happened. The man who was the trainer of the gym talked to him, that they don't want to see Sunghyun Han go to train with them anymore. Sunghyun Han was shocked of what he heard about. Sunghyun Han questioned them why they wanted him to leave suddenly. The man answered him that most of the people awakened received the training at the gym who become a hunter for several months. And he said directly to Sunghyun Han that he doesn't have a hope in hell of becoming a hunter, that he is a trash, that if they will continue to train Sunghyun Han their gym will be a trash too. They say that it was a shame, and it was also a sheer stupidity to cling to a pipe dream like Sunghyun Han want to be. Everybody's laughing at him. He was so angry and upset he crushed the can of a soda. He said to his unlocking mind that after years of training why he never has improved his stats. How is that possible, he said. He keeps asking himself why. So then right after he heard the mother and her daughter was talking about what happened 7 years ago, then he heard the little girl say that whatever happens, and no matter how hard it is, never give up and always be brave. The word gets to his mind, and he turned to the mother and the child and bow them, for reminding him for being a brave man and always, keep in mind that it's not too late. Then he ran fast and always thought about what he could do. The rain falls down. Sunghyun Han was on the way to the coach of the gym. He knocked the door hard, and the door opens and the coach appear at the door, and he pleased to give him a chance to take the hunter test, but the coach was angry and said to him that he does not understand what he's saying. The coach think that Sunghyun Han want all about was the money he had paid for the membership fee, and said that he will refund for a half membership that Sunghyun Han pay for. But Sunghyun Han shouted at him that it was not all about the money. His coach punched him at the face. The blood dripped into his mouth. Then Sunghyun Han crashed to a trash bin and get wet and dirty, and his coach said to him that it is always about the money and said that Sunghyun Han was a trash. He wishes he had an innate trait of his own, or at least any talent that he had, or whatever it is. The water drops, and the image appear and applauded by his iron will. Then he asked what it is. He fell from the top to the bottom of the water and shouting for help. His coach get out and said it's enough, but Sunghyun Han disappeared and wonder where he goes. He found the cap of Sunghyun Han throw it in the trash bin. Sunghyun Han continued to fell until to the bottom of the water. It's difficult for him to breathe because it's water and so deep. An image appears and said that he was a selected challenger from planet Earth. He wonders what it is. He asked if it is another calamity or what. He is allowed to select a difficulty level. He has no idea what is happening, but his instinct is telling him one thing: to seize the opportunity, and he presses hard level. The image said that may he found satisfaction at the end of his journey. Sunghyun Han entering the level 1 of the trial. All his ailments and injuries are healing. It's because of the trial to get him ready and to prepared for the imminent trial. He appeared on a desert place and wondering where this come from. They issued him a weapon because the theme of the trial was a survival. His innate trait unlocked. In 7 years in training has now finally reached unlocking innate trait. He can't believe it. He grabbed the sword immediately, and after a while the ground shake, all the sand had flowed up, and he was shocked what he feel, and the big sand man appeared to his face, and the image says to him that he must survive sand golem until the time is up. The time was running fast. Then Sand Golem attacked him and he crashed into the ground, and the image appears says that he has a penalty for a death failure. He run away from Sand Golem and try to escape, but the Sand Man keeps attacking him. He said how can he outrun with the Sand Man? The thing looks so slow, but his strides were so huge that he can catch up real fast with him, and he can't run too fast because of the desert sand. He can't make a whole 9 minutes of running in the sand, because his feet is drowning under the sand quickly. He has time remaining. He was still running and holding a sword they gave to him, but the sword was too lousy. How can he fight with all the strength of the weapon together with his ability? He thinks that they are setting him up to fail for the trial. It's either die running away with the thing or die standing the ground. He was so confused how to fight with the thing, until his back to the words his friends told him that he was a snicker and a stupid, and also the Sandman said to him that he is completely worthless. He was so angry and upset of the words he heard, and remember, he keeps on running and don't care if he dies on a coward's death. He run and try to turn away by the big feet of a monster. He said that he trained of being a hunter in 7 years. He was more knowledgeable than most active hunter. He still's running away and realized that if he keeps on running there is nothing doing any good. He tried to find a way to survive until the time runs out. His mind work, the Sandman will deactivate if he will destroy the core stone, but he has no chance to destroy it because he was so small and he can't reach it. Then he found a way. He saw higher ground and tried to run and climb from it. He jumped from the top of the cliff and crashed down, then jump up to the chest of the monster and try to destroy the core, but it was not easy and harder than he thinks. He cracked the core stone hardly, cracking and cracking, then the Sandman teasing him to do it harder, but the monster bound his whole body. He was hurt and trying to lose by the hand of it. But the monster teasing him again that he was a loser, a stupid and a worthless young man. When he heard it he was furious, twitched the sword to core stone of the monster, and the core stone has stabbed. The Sandman core stone has completely broke and destroyed. He completes the first tutorial trial. He fell and kneeled to the ground, his body covered with the sand and blood from the fight. He can't believe that he completely killed the Sandman by his full strength on compassion to pass the trial. He was so happy in guessing he made it. He unlocked his innate traits and obtained a points and gained a skill from the trial. He can't describe the feeling because he's been giving his blood, sweat, and tears for the past 7 years and got in return was ridicule and contempt, and now he has the chance to become a hunter too. He survived the first, but he was shocked at what he saw. The black fog was coming out from the Sandman dead body. He tried to touch it. They asked him if he would like to absorb the Sandman's spirit. He asked himself, does the Sandman's spirit has something to do his innate trait? He answered, and pressed yes, and all the black fog entered his whole body.
He absorbed all the dead spirit from the body of the Sandman, and his skilled level increase. He was surprised by the change in his body and into his skill. He was struck by what he saw and felt to his body. He has now a number of spirits in possession. He felt the dead spirit inside of him, and it's because he absorbed one, and his mind asked how he would use the dead spirit that absorbed his body. His stats were increasing permanently because of what he absorbed. His strength and his stamina were increasing too. His body was lighting up. He felt stronger now, and finally his stats were good. All of what he feels, right now he doesn't feel it when he was on training. He never thought that those would be increasing permanently. He asked himself that if he make it back the ability, does that mean that he can be hunter too? The image appears and says to him that he may proceed to the lobby and enter the portal for the next level. There is only way to find out but to enter the portal and see what's inside. When he was inside, he never thought that it was not just a simple portal. He crashed to the floor. He was shocked that all his injuries were gone. Then he realized that after the trial all his injuries would be healed. He was confused. It was just a huge room, but there is only a single bed he saw. He thinks he lost a lot of blood and was thankful that there was a bed for him to rest. He lies into the bed. He thinks what he would do, and asked himself if he would ever make it out of the tower, and says why they didn't bring him to that place for the first time. The image said that he may use the following 5 commands prompts. He questioned the command prompt. He said he would forget it and just focus on making it alive. Then he slaps his face. He could not commence the trial yet. He sat on the bed and waited for the trial to start. The image said to him that he had entered the community board. Then he scrolled and read all the comments he saw and wondered what was going on and realized that it was just like a game on a social media platform. The chat group was totally in chaos, and it looked like there's a random group of active hunters and civilians in it, and he was shocked when the admin entered the chat group and wondered why he cannot send a message. The admin sends an announcement for all the challengers of the tutorial trial. He thought they would tell the admin of how they can go back to the real world. He on attention and listen every detail admin say. The admin announces how to use the points they earned by completing the tutorial trial, can use the points as common currency within the Tower of Trials, mainly through the stores. And in addition, they may use the community function to give and receive points. And they cannot take even a sip of water without points in the trial, because the points are only earned on trials, so in other words he has to do whatever it takes to get used inside the tower. He imagines himself when he cannot take a sip of water, so the only way to survive was to attempt the trials to earn points, and that was the end of the announcement, and the admin left the chat, and he can send message now. He was so close to becoming a hunter, all he needed to do was to make it home. He sat on the bed and thinking that he needed more than just a sword. At the store he can buy some inventory at the store because he has a point earned in the first trial. He buys a shield and tries to practice how to use it. He said that the hunters who were brought here might have lost all their stats, but they'll be able to relearn their previous skills much quicker than the others. He needs to accept that they were not starting a level on a playing field. If he doesn't train like his life depends on it, he'll never be able to catch up with them. After on a train he was tired and lay on the floor. He said it was perfect since the lobby's constantly healing him. He can train as much as he wants, and at this rate the next might have been easy for him. He just wishes that the lobby would help him with his hunger. He buys some items in the inventory. He bought a bunch of stuff and now he has only 40 points left, and without the bonus reward he wouldn't have the points to buy his shield. The chat room was full of people earlier, but it's deathly silent now that the second trail was approaching. He asked himself if he still could survive this time around and says that no matter what happens he needs to survive. And the level 2 trial started. He enters the portal to the level 2 trial, and he is still on a difficulty level. The trial was in the forest. The theme of the trial was assassination. He must assassinate the orc within the time limit. He saw the place of the orc and saw the settlement, the army of warlike faces guarding the inside and outside of the camp. He needs to walk right to the armies and kill the chieftain of the orcs, because the armies are guarding strictly. He says to his mind if the orc settlement was dungeon sentries, it means that they also have hunters in their rank. He's not sure if he can handle a single orc hunter by himself, but the problem was there's so many of them taking down that many orcs would require a full party of grade E hunters at a minimum. There is no way he can't do it by himself. He thinks what he should do? He planned to retreat for now and come back with a real and better strategy, and then thinks a way to get through with it. He makes plenty of firewood able as he can, and then he put his torch in the corner of the image, then it works. When the orcs saw it, they looked like lazy pigs. He said he was a plenty of time to get through the armies, because hunters go out in the morning and return until sundown. He can overcome the main obstacle of the trial even if he has an overwhelming disadvantage in number by using the firewood he made. Until the night ends and the morning comes, and according to him that the Hunters Association said that orc sentries is not always just stand and guard, they usually go back to the settlement to eat and rest. The plan was on. He threw away all the firewood he made in the settlement, and all the hunters ran and went out to put out the fire surrounding their settlement. They were terrified of what would happen, and the fire surrounds the settlement. He doesn't worry about running into an orc hunter coming back from the hunt. He has to take down 2 workers before they do. The orc hunters were busy putting out the fire, then he has the chance now to kill the one in just an easy way. He was at the back of the orc hunter, then he stabs the back by his sword, and his innate trait was activating. And just like the first trial, he absorbed all the orc's dead spirit, then he smiles and likes it. His skill level was increasing, then the sentry appeared at his back. He and the sentry were fighting using his shield. When he was on a fight his stats were increasing because of the dead spirit he absorbed. And his strength and agility are gaining a point. Together with his ability and the absorbed dead spirit, he killed the sentry, he cut off his head and he's still increasing and activating his skill. And he says that would be dangerous if he let his guard down. And he guesses that the sentry was increasing his stamina too, and he said that things would be a lot easier if he winds up fighting another sentry later. There are 3 workers, 1 sentry, and the elderly chieftain that was on the way to attack him. And as long as he watches out the sentry, the chieftain would be easy enough to kill. Now that he absorbed the workers shouldn't pose to treat, he kills the 3 workers, then he fights the sentry and realizes that the sentry wasn't near in the chieftain's side, that means it was the only sentry left. He was still in the middle of the fight and the sentry beat him on the head, and eventually he had a shield to use for and to protect his head. Then he forcefully attacks the sentry, he run towards it and stab it in the chest, and the sentry was killed by him. And his only big problem is the chieftain was still alive. He was ready to fight but he didn't know that his rod had the power of fire, he was struck by it, and he used his shield to cover the fire. The chieftain shocked that he was standing and still alive and strongly want to fight him. He unlocked the achievement through fire and flames and imbuing a skill. And bravely said, "You are dead now." They are staring at each other where eyes are filled with anger. The chieftain used his rod again to blaze with fire to him, but he ran forward and did not feel the fire burning into his body. He ran fast and cut the hand of the chieftain. The chieftain ran inside of the settlement fast, and he followed it where it went, and he slashed his sword in the air, and shocked at what he saw. The chieftain has a little orc, they were trembling, and the little one come near to him kneeling and crying. He feels pity and remembering the days that his parent died. But hidden with his knowledge that the little orc was pretending to be pathetic, the little orc tries to attack him, but suddenly he wakes up to the truth. He pierced the little orc in the head and kill it and also the one, and the last one he did is he killed the chieftain and completed the level 2 of the tutorial trial. And it's too bad that he just can't keep using the shield, because it's full of wounds and close to breaking, and that was another close call to him. And it looks like half of the challengers didn't make it, but there are 2 challengers left in the group chat. Suddenly, the question popped into his mind, whether he could go back to Earth. The information popped up that they can submit a question, which will be answered by the admin. They will be granted the ability to submit 1 new question each time they reach a new level, and that's where they can use the question he granted. In the community chat room, the players naturally came for the consensus, and they should share every information they gather through the questions. Upon reaching level 5 you can purchase temporary return stones that allow them to return to Earth in a few days. And the level 8 onward, they will be granted access to an expanded version of the system, and the opportunity to buy an item that can send them back to Earth permanently. And he said even if he goes back as long as he can keep his powers, he could make a name for himself as a good hunter. He said that he would have been unstoppable if he had these powers on Earth. He is struggling in level 2 right now, and level 8 feels like light years away. Then he said that he should look on the bright side. His stats used to be at rock bottom, but now they're approaching 20. He saw his status, then he took off his jacket and absorbed the 5 dead spirit he captured, considering he has died in the process. All of his status was increasing. He has such a raw power, and he is overwhelmed for what he felt, and now he feels and surpassed human limits. He tries to run fast and jump, but he loses control and crashes on the wall and bounces back on the floor. Then he realizes that he made such quick progress, and guessing his body can't keep up yet. Then laugh at what he did, his nose was bleeding, then he wipes it. The image popped up and said that he purchased a deadwood shield and a points deducted to his account. A shield that was crafted by a black mage using timber from the enormous dead tree. Activates a buff upon losing health, and he also purchases a black steel dagger that was crafted using black steel imbued with dark magic, and the last one was an assassin's cloak. He looks so good in his new clothes. He makes sure that he mastered his new items and stats before the next trial starts. He ran and looks so dash in his new items. He's now entering level 3 of the trial, and the theme of this trial was duel. He was in a cave and the image said that in 10 seconds the Guardian of Darkness would appear. He was getting ready because it was just like Sand Golem, they will appear anywhere. The time was up, and the Guardian of Darkness appeared, but he didn't see it. The Guardian of Darkness stabbed him, and he must defeat it. Because of the pain he felt, he fought the Guardian of the Darkness with all his strength, ability, and with all his increasing stat and skill. They were staring at each other eye to eye, then he saw the stance of the Guardian, and guessing does the thing was imitating him, and there is one thing to find out. He ran to the monster and hit his chest, then the Guardian was hurt. The monster attacked him just like what he did, then he got it now that the Guardian was copying his every move. And now he has the upper hand, because he knows how to counter his techniques. Their fight continued. He knows how to overcome the monster, because he knows his movement and technique, but he didn't even think that the monster could slay him. His neck was stabbed by the monster. He was shocked because the monster was evolving even for a moment of fighting. That wasn't just a coincidence. Activating item skill using his assassin's cloak, the cloak was increasing his movement speed. He can't let the fight go on for too long, he needs to finish the monster in a minute. The monster was so angry that he wanted to eat his whole human being. His also felt the same thing. In his struggle, he did not realize that his hand had been cut off. He was shocked he didn't know how to fight with one hand. He cannot use the sword now. He said the fight wasn't over. But it was in his mind that even though he could not use the sword anymore, he had a shield to use in the fight. And he says that it's better to be bold than just wait around to die. He used his shield to attack the monster even with one hand. The monster also fought and was hit and jumped away, and he had the power to destroy the beast, and he had the opportunity to destroy it with his shield. And he completed level 3 of the Tower of the Trials. He's now entering level 4 of the trial, and just like what happened in level 2 of the trial, all his ailments and injuries are healing. He stretched his arm and tried to job the wall, then he was surprised, because his strength was better, not just like before. Just like the last trial, he absorbed the doppelganger's dead spirit. Compared to all the monster he fought, this one, spirit density, is through the roof. He had reached the proficiency of his innate trait now. He saw the message, then he read the secondary effect 3, which was the new for him. He can now learn the skill of the spirit on random. It was just like how he survived on a countless time on a brink of death just to obtain a skill. He said that he wasn't expecting this cheating code. After 3 floors he feels like he's starting to hang of things around. He read the message at the chat group. It says here that the level 4 trial was a mass trial, and is guessing that they will be in group this time. And then another message popped up. After he read the last message, his mind was thinking that maybe he would kill a human being in the next trial. All the challengers have been matched. The level 4 trial will start after 1 day, a mass trial objective. They must kill the Goblin's king. The mass trial has a failure condition, and the penalty of the failure was death. This time he meets his team, and he feels awkward, because he was hanging around by himself with monsters lately. The one was walking towards him, say that maybe they could introduce themselves, because it was the first time they meet each other. This one was Hyeon Lee. She specialized in party support, and was a grade E hunter in the outside world. Then he says to his mind that it is good that he isn't team up with losers at least. This one was Seonghun Lee. He is a closed combat specialist, and was a grade D hunter. His mind saying that this one was kind rude and saying that if he really was a grade D, he's probably used to people giving him special treatment. Then he introduced himself. He says that he was a closed-range fighter too, but in the outside world he means, that wasn't exactly a hunter but on training to become one. Then Seonghun warning him, that if we'll get mess with the team worked, he will be kicked out. He almost forgot that he was used to it. Then the man said to him that he will just stay at the back and just take care of the small fry. And after all he might make it right in the Tower of Trial. They arrived at the castle of the Goblin. The theme of the trial was a 3 versus 3 competitions. They must work together before their competitors. The castle opened, and the goblin was dashing attacking them. Then Seonghun Lee said to him that, "Don't just stand like an idiot, fight." But Song Yun-han just stared him and said, "Worry about yourself, dude." Seonghun Lee didn't see that he was fighting too. Haeyeon Lee was still casting his spell, Seonghun Lee calling her for help. Seonghun Lee says that give him a buff and make it quick as fast as she can, because the goblin was still attacking him. Song Yun-han told Haeyeon that Seonghun Lee could do it by a hand, but Haeyeon didn't hear him, because it was busy doing the spell. Then Song Yun-han dashing to Seonghun Lee, then Haeyeon was shouting to him that what if the goblin will attack her behind, what will she do? But she was shocked when all the goblins behind her was all dead and killed by Song Yun, and she said that it was impossible. The goblins were still attacking them, but still Seonghun couldn't make it through the goblins. His arm was hit by the goblin, his weapon was thrown away. The one was coming to attack him, but Song Yun-han came to help him. Then Seonghun was safe, because of Song Yun-han. He kills all the goblin. Then Seonghun grabbed his cloak and wanted to talk to him, but he just says that, "Just stay back, and I will take care of it." He was shocked of what Song Yun-han said. Song Yun-han killed all the goblin by his own, and he unlocked the achievement, Goblin Slayer. Then Seonghun Lee was freezing in shocked of what he saw. They won't be able to see the smoke from his innate trait. He should take the time and absorb as much as he can. He's gaining and increasing all the strength and power and absorbing one skill from Goblin Ranger. He's now filled with vision. He can easily detect approaching targets. He was amazed by himself and says that this is how it feels to have a superhuman eyesight, and he was overwhelmed. After seeing each other, Seonghun says to him that the fight he did was lucky, just because he got nothing to fight, but a bunch of goblins who was easy to kill, then laughs and says that he did better than he was expected. Then Song Yun-han said to everyone that he will be leading the front, because he knows that would be efficient for all of them. He asked Seonghun if there any problem with those. Seonghun said it was fine. He will do what Song Yun-han want him to do. Song Yun-han command him that all he has to do was to keep Haeyeon safe. Then he commands Haeyeon that she will guide them the way and support them during combat. Haeyeon answered yes, and says that they will work together and make the most of the remaining time. They were running from one goblin to another, but the crowd was weirdly quiet. Song Yun-han was dashing and feeling the place and thinks that it looks like the other team was in here first, because the body was still warm, and they can catch up with them. They were thinking if the other team slayed the boss first, it means that the penalty for failing was them. Song Yun-han raised and said that they better get moving now. The goblins were still attacking but in the other team, and this challenger saying that he was so sick and tired fighting, and he assured that this would be the last one. The fighter seemed so elegant and brave, that maybe he could fight with good and verifying skill. He was just like Song Yun-han. He killed all the goblins surrounding them and saved his team. They call him a boss, because he was so good in fighting. They were now at the gate for the boss's battle, and the hunter said that they would do it quickly so that they could get out. They fulfilled the condition, and all the members of the competitors' team entered the Goblin King's spire. The battle of the boss will not commence if there is no one out of the two challenger teams remaining. Until then they may no longer leave the area. The area was surrounded with something that couldn't have been destroyed. Then the challenger team was facing each other now, and the trial must be a little bit tricky. Song Yun-han told Hye-yeon that he wants her agility buff, and used the rest of her buff to Seong-hun. Then Hye-yeon said to Song-yun that she already knows how strong he is, but the other hunters are much more of a threat than monster. Then he answered that he appreciates what Hye-yeon trying to say and says he will signal if he was on danger, and the two of them will come and help him, and Hye-yeon was agree with it. Song Yun-han already know that his power has gone far from beyond the level of any ordinary hunters, and beside he killed at least 30 goblins in this trial alone, and this current state he can take care of himself alone. He's starting to attack now, and the other team was getting ready. Then they were shocked of how fast Song-yun is. Then this man deployed his shield. His shield had an amazing power that can cover the surface, but Song Yun-han has shattered the shield and the other team had thrown away. Then he dashed to attack them, and all the members of the other competitor were slashed by him. Then he attacked the boss, when he fought the boss of the other team. The man says that was so strange, because he knows that he was stronger than him, but somehow Song-yun was blocking all of his attack. They continue fighting, until the man found out that Song Yun-han can see the arc of every strike. Then the hunter turns around and Song Yun-han actively covered his face, then Song Yun-han stabbed him. The hunter was hurt, and he achieved the objective of the trial and got a bonus for the trial. They finished the other team's competitor, and they won the battle. But Hye-yeon noticed that Song-yun was shaking, then she asked if he was okay. Then Song-yun said that he was okay. Hye-yeon think that Song-yun was in shock killing those 3 competitors and thought that Song-yun was a ruthless killer through and through. Song-yun said to them that they need to go to the battle of the boss right away. Then Hye-yeon and Seong-hun said that they down to go right away too. Song-yun killed the Goblin's king, then suddenly Seong-hun said that what a monster Song-yun was. They all finished the trial, and every one of them needed to proceed to the lobby for the next trial. Song-yun said to Hye-yeon, hoping she can go back to Earth, and Hye-yeon said to Song-yun that he is just doing what he needed to do just to survive. Hye-yeon said that somebody must do it. If Song-yun doesn't do it they wouldn't survive, and Song-yun said thank you to Hye-yeon. Hye-yeon sent him a friend request and said that she couldn't leave without thanking him properly, and said that if Song-yun could go back to Earth he could find her at the Silver Guild. Then finally saying goodbye. He was alone now. He needed to make the decision, whether he absorbed the human spirit or not. He was thinking if he would absorb the human spirit, it was just like crossing on a point in no return. But he made up his mind. He absorbs the human spirit, then said to himself that he would not kill other people just to become stronger, but won't hesitate if he has to. For the first time he felt the strange desire in his heart, that something to have a dream to become a hunter someday. The Tower of Trial granted him an opportunity, and he will fully seize it with every last bit of his strength. And wanting to keep ascending the tower. He enters the lobby now. The system now is expanding. He needs to enter his nickname so that he can see his grade in the challenge. He was thinking what he could call himself, seeing by his stand. His nickname has been changed from Song Yun-han to Huntsman. Then rankings have popped up and he wonders if he was on a ranking too. He saw his grade on the screen, and he was surprised, because it was higher than he expected. The challenger ranked within the top 50 will be designated as pioneers, and pioneers will receive certain benefits upon reaching level 8. Those who continuously designated as pioneers up to level 8 will obtain a halo. Thinks that it was kind of a skill, but he will find out later on. He needs to select the dead spirit he wishes to absorb out of those who are currently in his possession. Then he chooses the dead spirit of the 3 hunters and the Goblin King, and his stats are increasing permanently using the absorbed dead spirit. Now he really feels like he's transcending human limits. He purchased a return stone, and the return stone allowed the user to leave the tower in 3 days and return to their place of origin. He tests it out and sees if he can take his weapon back with him, then he uses the return stone to return to Earth, and finally he's going home. He fell from the portal and flashing down to Earth, then he arrived and will return to the Tower of Trials in 3 days. He flapped on his bed and rised up and saw the note he made about the rules to survive in dungeon, and said he was really back. He thinks that he may really need a nap first, but he smells something bad. He can't take a nap because he was thinking about that smell. Then he rises up and said he needs to do something that smell and simply says that he really needs to take a shower now. He was shocked because he saw his weapon beside the bed. Then he was happy because his question had been answered. He could really bring back his weapon from tower to earth, which means that the other challenger can bring their weapons too. He said to his mind he better get moving because once more and more challengers come back to earth, they will flood the market with items from the tower, which could crash the equipment prices in the hunter market. He need to sell it now, but the problem is only those have hunters licensed can sell items on market. His original plan was to just apply for a hunter for this time round, then eventually take the exam next time when he comes back to earth, then look at his phone and say that this should keep him busy. At the gym the hunters are busy in training, then the phone of the coach ring, and Couch answered the phone and introduced himself. Then Song Yun-han said that his coach still remembers him, and the coach said he do remember him. And said that if Song Yun-han wants a refund he can go to their website, but Song Yun-han answered that he does not needing a refund, and the coach asked him if he is sure about his decision. Then Song Yun-han said that he is sure about it, but Song Yun-han asked a favor to his coach, and the coach was guessing that Song Yun-han want to train again and he said no. Then Song Yun-han says that he needs some help to take the exam again. But the coach answered, does Song Yun-han forget last time take the exam it was all an F, it means that he failed in the assessment, and said that Song Yun-han doesn't have any innate traits and skill, and Song Yun-han says that he is aware with that. The coach wanted to end the call but Song Yun-han said that he will pay for the membership fees, and the coach said directly to Song Yun-han that there is no problem with it as long as he pays for the membership fee. Then they have a deal. The coach will help him with the hunter exam this day. Song Yun-han was taking now a shower and look himself in the mirror and saw his body was changing since he has been stronger. He was getting distracted with it. He was in a hurry so that he could make it to the hunter exam. When he opened the door, he saw his neighbor and said that he missed everyday life. Also, his neighbor was a welcome sight even if they were only passing acquaintances. Then he says hi. And his neighbor was saying hi too and saying have a nice day. Then he noticed something about Song Yun-han and asked herself, does Song Yun-han was always tall? Song Yun-han was waving a taxi but seems there is no taxi stop to him. Since there is no taxi that stop, he uses his activated stats and skill way through the Hunter Association, and he arrives in no time. Then he met his coach again. He said to his coach that he's experiencing little strange lately, and his coach wonder and asking, then he said that might his coach don't understand it. This man is In-Hoo Kim, he will be the supervisor for today's exam. Then explained that because of his coach endorsement he won't be taking the theory exam and the interview, and asked Song Yun-han if he has any question about the exam process, and he said that he is familiar with it. Song Yun-han didn't know that Mr. Kim and his coach had planned his hunter's exam. Mr. Kim said to him that whenever he's ready he can choose a difficulty level from 1 to 10. Then Song Yun-han remembered that last time he took the exam he always chooses difficulty level 1 before and he always lost to a mere goblin he fights, and says that he was so weak back then. His coach was betting on him that he would choose level 1 again just like last time he took the hunter exam. Then Song Yun-han chooses level 10, and his coach was shocked of what he heard, and says that Song Yun-han must be kidding him. The exam has commenced, he must slay the Firebird, and his speed decreased by 25% because of the Firebird skill, which is Predator's Roar, but his sword was cracked because his coach tampered it hard. The Firebird is flapping in front of him. Then his coach was remembering the days when he became a hunter. He was starting to lag behind his peers and gave up trying to catch up with his batch. In the world of hunters, natural talent is everything. He accepted the fact and became complacent. Because human beings are instinctively driven to give up when they face an insurmountable wall, not just him but everyone does the same. That's why he wants Song Yun-han to give up just like what he did. Song Yun-han knows that the weapon he used was just a low-level weapon, but he didn't expect it to break so easily. Then he wonders. His coach was smiling watching him. He used the skill he gained on level 4 to the test, instant acceleration. He leaps from the floor to the roof and even the Firebird was shocked by it. The Firebird was blazing him with fireball, then he leaped from the roof down to the Firebird's eye and stabbed it. He knew that the sword was too short, so he grabbed a tile from the floor and threw it in the Firebird and the Firebird's head was cut by it. The coach and the examiner were a little bit hit by the tile he threw. Song Yun-han completed the examination, and he waved to his coach and the examiner and simply said that he didn't know they were up there watching him. He is now registered on a hunter association. He is cleared to engage any hunter activities and asked the woman if he can go to Dugyeon and can sell any items on. His coach was angry with the examiner, and the examiner says that he told the coach to fail the hunter within the 10 seconds of the exam and didn't understand what's the whole thing was with it. The examiner says that they did the best they can and made the exam impossible to clear just like what he said and especially to Song Yun-han's ability. And the coach said that he shouldn't give him a higher grade, and how that made any sense. He took down the target within 10 seconds. While they're talking, Song Yun-han entered the room and said that finally he got his hunter's licensed. He walks through his coach and says that his coach wasn't seem so well and asking if there is something wrong, and his coach simply congratulates him, but Song Yun-han talked to him rudely that he is a grade C hunter before and retired. His coach asked him what's the point with it, and Song Yun-han answered nothing, it was just reminding him to call him a trash. His coach tries to punch him, but he tries to get away with it and strongly punch his coach back, and that was a self-defense were also a payback and laughs, and the coach suddenly says that Song Yun-han was not just for a C-grade hunter because he is way too strong. He is on his way home, but Mr. Kim wants him to work directly for the Hunters Association, and offer a big salary and negotiation. Song Yun-han said that it was a pretty offer, but he knows that the examiner regied the exam for him and throw away the calling card gave to him. 2 days later, he watched the news about the Tower of Trials, then he felt great because everybody knows now about the Tower of Trial. It's time to get back in the Tower of Trials, but he is just waiting for his phone to pop up, then after the message popped just right on time, he needs to get back now in a moment, and he can't wait to feel his self grown even more powerful and time to get busy. He is now back at the Tower of Trial. He put his items in the inventory just for now. He flips from the bed down to the floor, stretching and getting warm for the next trial, unlocking achievement back to tower and granted a skill, the Eye of Truth. The Eye of Truth allows the user to gain information on any target in their line of sight and determine the veracity of any verbal statement made by the target. He said that learning about any objects by sight alone isn't bad, but it even lets me tell when somebody's lying. He smiles and feeling incredible, and says what a stroke of luck he receives. He purchases another sword, a Thunderblade, and also purchase a new shield, a Stalker's Shield. His sword has a lightning effect that he is sure he can handle it. He enters again in the portal for the 5th trial. The theme of the trial was Hunt. The trial objective was to kill the werewolf boss of the Lupin Gorge, and the failure condition is challenger dies or the time runs out. And this time round there is a trial clearance reward, a werewolf's headband. In the Wolf Rock Mountain, he was getting ready for the big and roaring fight. The wolves were arriving, and all the wolves were jumping towards him. He smashes and slices the wolves who are attacking him. The one behind him who tries to attack is kicked by him and the wolf crashes into the ground, and he thinks that it is all done, but he didn't know that there is much bigger than he fought. The big wolves come to rescue, where eyes are filled with anger. The big wolves eat the little ones, and their next target was him. He leaps and attacks the big wolves using his sword and other activated skill, and for him it was fun. He takes the fight easy as he can. He slashed and killed all the big wolves attacking him. He reached 100% for the proficiency for the skill, a hunter-style dagger. his skill grade for the skill was increasing. He is reaching now the growth limit as a hunter. The wolves keep on coming towards him. He absorbed all the crazed wolf's dead spirit, and his necromancy starts to go up. He is getting close to the heart of Lupin Gorge. As he walked towards the Lupin Gorge, he noticed that strangely, he saw wolves lying on the road that were not killed by him, and his mind was saying that the wolves are fighting over territory or something. No judging by the wounds of the wolves that were killed with a sword. He explored the road and he saw the markings nearby. The rocks are proof enough. He used his eye of truth and the aura trace with a grade D, a mark created by a highly proficient aura slicing through the rock wall. He is still finding the truth because he has a bad feeling about it. He was arriving at the top hearing the roar of a wolf. He was nearby, he was dashing through the place, and he was shocked because the werewolf Lupin Gorge was thrown away towards him. He checked if it was still alive, but it was not. His trial has been invaded with someone in the other party. He was shocked because he did not kill the werewolf. It means that he failed the trial, but the objective of the trial has been changed since the werewolf invaded with another party. He must kill now the other challenger who invaded the trial from another dimension. Then he was thinking that the Tower of Trial does exist in another dimension outside on Earth. The invader talks to him that seems Song Yun-han still draw breath, though you hail from a more primitive dimension, and said that Song Yun-han was nonetheless master of the trial. He asked Song Yun why is he so silent and does Song Yun are afraid of death. But Song Yun was happy because he feels great there is another weird to fight for. Song Yun-han did not consider that there was someone stealing his trial objective, but he is still glad that he didn't fail the trial immediately. They were both ready for the fight. Song Yun-han ran quickly at the back of the invader and tries to cut the armor and cleave him in half, but he did not do it properly. The invader was evolving and shot Song Yun, and Song Yun used his shield to cover his body, but unfortunately his shield was broken by the invader. He was thrown away crashed into the ground and broke his left hand. The invader says that his aura has been blocked now, and he said to Song Yun-han that his left hand will be useless if he sever it entirely. Song Yun-han asked who is that invader and asked what invader is, and the invader said to Song Yun-han was a primitive ape, who is ignorant of a primitive invasion. And he was asking why his trial chose the invader to invade, and the invader answered him that the lamentation would not avail him, that this was the simple way of the tower, and the invader would be granting him the mercy of the swift end to his suffering. The invader had his time to go, but Song Yun-han stopped him and pleasing to tell him what a trial invasion is. And the invader explains what a trial invasion is. The trial invasions are one of the functions added to the system from level 8 onward, and he may purchase a trial invasion token at the store to interfere in another challenger's trial. Seong Yun-han understand now. He rise and use his eye of truth to read the mind of the invader if the invader does tell the truth, and the eye of truth said that the invader was telling the truth to him, and all the invader said was true. The invader points his sword at the face of Song Yun-han, because he knew that Song Yun-han suspected him that he is lying. Then Song Yun-han said to him that he has something on return for all the information he gave and explained to him, and said that his arm doesn't feel too bad and thanking for his resistance skill, his not holding onto it because it was hurt. As soon as he let go, his fast Regen skill heals him automatically, and figured that the invader will let him guard down because he was hurt. The invader was shocked and activating his sword, and Song Yun-han said that he is keep getting stronger and stronger and the invader will see. He is permanently increasing stats using all the dead spirit in possession. His strength was increasing, and his agility and stamina were increasing too, and his magic and resilience, and the invader said that Song Yun-han is capable of strengthening himself, and asking how a level 5 challenger can possess so many skills. Song Yun-han was dashing through the invader and they were fighting. The invader uses his aura again to Song Yun. The aura power is a high-level ability that could do some serious damage. But Song Yun was still lucky because his stats were higher than the invader. He knows how to avoid any killing blows, but the problem is the armor of the invader was so thick, and its rare item that can't cut through for his current level. Suddenly, his weapon lit up in the middle of their battle. The invader was hurt by the power of the weapon he was using. Upon striking an enemy, the user has a 10% chance of gaining the lightning strike effect of the sword, and it was perfect timing because Song-Yun was struggling fighting the invader for long. The monster was relieving of the pain he felt. He said in his mind that it would be a big headache if the armor was using the invader has an electrical resistance, and he was still lucky. The invader can no longer stand because of the pain he feels and saying that the preposterous victory must have been for him and returned asking himself how Song-Yun possesses so many skills. And Song-Yun Han said that it was the invader's fault, because the invader was relying on his armor and a single high-level skill. He wanted now to end the fight. He walked through the invader and stabbed it in the eye. He is starting now to become a desensitized to killing, but it would be worse if he kept feeling squeamish about it. He completed level 5 of the Tower of Trials. The body of the invader vanishing slowly and Song-Yun Han absorbed the dead spirit, and his skill proficiency has increased by 15%. It looks like spirits dissipate if they die in another dimension. He received a does not match his difficulty level. He obtained the skill Ultimate Triad, and he was shocked because his clearance reward jumped from C to A. He couldn't believe that he had an A skill already. He was now entering level 6 of the trial, and he was on the leaderboard now. And now that he has to deal with a trial invasion, he can't really let his guard down. He was going to save his question at level 8, but the message popped up and says here that he may ask a question now and it will be answered by the admin. He wanted to know what really a trial invasion is, and also want to know if he can get a warning before a trial invasion happens, and his question have been submitted. He received a response to his question, and it says here that a trial invasion is a system that allows the user to invade a trial being undertaken by challenger within 10 levels of the invading user. However, the user may not invade a trial that is not an individual trial, such as a special trial or a mass trial. This system will be available from level 8. He currently does not have access to trial invasions. So basically, it will let him kick away the ladder of weaker challengers from the trial. The device sends him a warning. He cannot access the information at his current level. Since only a partial question was provided, he cannot use up a question. Even any question limits to him. He wanted to try the sweet new gear he brought back from Earth. He reached it in the inventory item. It was a box, a Croken Towers box. It is a box of restoration to repair the Stalker's shield. His shield now is repaired and looked good as it new. He used his cleansing stone he buys in the inventory, and he was surprised because he thought that it would be a waste of money, but the stone cleans him like a shiny one. The time is running out for the 6th trial to start. Since he got some time for the next trial to start, he checked the leaderboard and he was surprised because he was in 3rd place now. He has come a long way from 16th to 3rd. This will take him closer to scoring the consecutive pioneer. The chat room taken the turn, and it was utter chaos. There is no semblance of law or order anymore. He knew about the mental resistance skill that they were talking about. It makes sense that they would want to lessen the psychological shock of killing, but it's a double-edged sword. But there is no way the human mind can keep erasing psychological pain using a skill without serious issues. And the message popped up about the last time douchebag who leaked the last trial on a level 4 changed their name in Sudapwensis. And they wonder if they want to be the same, compete and kill each other. He has to remember the name Sudapwensis, and level 6 trial has commenced, and the theme of the trial is occupied. The trial objective was to occupy a base tile in one of 4 directions within the time limit. Trial clearance reward is random loot box. He enters the portal, and this time around is an open sea battle, and also, they will be in a group party. They will collaborate to their members to clear the trial, and he wonders why his teammate was taking so long. And the weapon falls from the portal down to him, and asking his teammate why he tries to kill him, and the man answered that killing other challengers is the easiest way to get achievements. And don't care about killing someone who's on his team as long as he became stronger, and said that don't be so hypocrite, and stop asking like he is the only one with a conscience around. Song Yun-han looked around, watching all the challenger kill their own teammate. His teammate has the chance now to attack him, but unfortunately, he did not succeed. Song Yun-han stabbed him and his teammate was killed by him. He unlocked the achievement Backstabber. Special trials and mass trials might seem intimidating. It was just a nothing to him but an XP event. And basically, this is a bonus for him, where he can raise his innate traits proficiency and even gain new skills. He's not going to go out on his way to kill another challenger, but he won't spare anyone who comes after him.